which brings us to a topic that, you actually sent me some topics. You said, should we talk Yankees Orioles? And I'm like, Patrick, I didn't tell you this. I've been sitting on Yankees Orioles for weeks now because I've wanted to talk about these two teams. But then I saw this matchup, a 4-game set between the Yankees and the Orioles, that we should probably wait for that series. And so here it is. The Yankees carry a 1-game lead in this division right now. They've played 2 more games. They're even in the loss column, but the Yankees have 19 wins to the Orioles 17. But who's better? Yankees, Orioles. This is going to be a fun series.
It is, yeah. And we get 4 games too. We get to be spoiled a little bit there where it's not just 3. And I'm not going to say it's in a better environment right now, but I love narratives. I love the storyline of the Orioles packing out their own ballpark there at Oriole Park at Camden Yards, partially because, for anyone that knows and is aware in the Northeast, when the Orioles were bad, and this was even true, I think, even when they've been good in the 2000s and early 2010s, Yankees fans save a buck or two by spending a weekend or a week in Baltimore. They save money by going and getting some really good seats. So the Yankees will swarm Camden Yards, and that just isn't the case right now. So I love that Orioles fans are going to fill up Orioles Park there for this series of 2 of the best teams in the American League, 2 of the most star-studded teams, and how they did it totally different ways. One's homegrown, one is purchased, if you will, or at least retained, because Aaron Judge was homegrown. And it's just there's nothing better right now. Kind of the Goliath, and then the new younger Goliath Jr. That is the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, they're certainly becoming a Goliath with the way that they've been able to develop that talent. And we talked about this on yesterday's or last show as well, where just to have so many options to plug in. Jackson Holiday gets demoted, and they still just have a ridiculous lineup. And they could go to Kobe Mayo before Jackson Holiday to fill it out. They are getting so much production from that lineup. I think let's actually take this piece by piece. Which lineup would you prefer? The Yankees with Juan Soto, who, by the way, is getting on base at a 443 clip. I feel like, again, right, he's done that many times throughout his career. And Judge hasn't even gotten going. Judge hitting below the Mendoza line, only has 5 home runs, and Soto's leading the team with 7. Verdugo off to a good start for the Yankees. Anthony Volpe off to a good start. Giancarlo Stanton with 6 home runs, and maybe not old Giancarlo Stanton, but good enough in that DH spot. They're getting a ton of production in this lineup. I mean, it's a really good team right now. It's hard to pick against the young guns in Baltimore, but man, do the Yankees have a better lineup right now?
No, I'm taking the Orioles. I am. And again, going back to this series being in Baltimore, I think can be very helpful where it's pressure packed, but there's the familiarity of your home stadium. And I think once we start getting deeper into that season, and when we do get to October and the Orioles are there, it will be very interesting to see how these young guys respond to that pressure packed environment that's there in October, where every game virtually is a must win. But the depth of the Orioles lineup right now is just so strong, and the options that they have both on their bench and in AAA and in Norfolk there is just kind of unparalleled. And the Yankees are one of those teams where either they produce players out of thin air, that will happen again this season, or players just put on the uniform and they magically get better. So that's something that we haven't totally seen from the Orioles yet. They just aren't one of those franchises right now. But we talked about on the last show the fact that they're able to really develop well at the major league level. So I think the coaching staff could help, tighten up the gap, if you will, as far as just the magic of the laundry that comes with playing in New York. But I'm taking the Orioles lineup right now, despite the fact that there is so many things going well right now in the Bronx. As you said, are you joining me on that one, or is it a tie? You can also go that route as well.
No, I think I'll play some devil's advocate on this one because we still haven't seen what the Yankees can be because Aaron Judge hasn't gotten going yet. But that combination of Soto and Judge, it's better than anything the Orioles could put together this year. I think in a couple years, maybe they'll have a couple hitters that can be that good. But I like Juan Soto and Aaron Judge in a playoff series to be able to make a lot happen. The depth does skew to Baltimore, but I think there is a chance that the Yankees could have the better lineup because they've been able to really, put up great numbers offensively without their best hitter. And I'm just imagining being able to see Soto and Judge when they're both going at the same time. And it's something that outside of maybe Los Angeles right now at the Dodgers, we just don't see that level of superstar share a lineup. I mean, you're seeing it, like I just said, with the Dodgers. I guess maybe the Braves a little bit, but Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, I think they could have the better lineup. Currently, I'd say the Orioles probably are just better top to bottom, but I think there'll be a point this year where the Yankees really get going. If it's at the right time, they can make a lot of noise in the playoffs.
Orioles, even after the 15-run barrage by the Yankees today against the Brewers, have scored more runs in general too. So again, that's one of those factors. Yeah, we're gonna be fighting all season long. We really should just pick a side. I have to start wearing a lot more orange now. I mean, you've already got a lot of New York gear. You got to be careful. You've already put down the Phillies here and there, or rather, you've propped up the Phillies,
Yeah.
and now you're taking the Yankee side. Ryan, you are the man of the people. You are an honest guy. You've got no biases whatsoever. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in this series, like you said, with the lineups, with that environment. Will Judge be able to hit one out in left field in that new cavern that they've created? Doesn't impact Juan Soto. We know it hasn't impacted Gunnar Henderson at all as well. So these two teams, man, again, firepower all over. But lineup, I'm sticking with the Orioles. You want to shift things over to the starting rotations because
Yeah.
we're only going to see 4 of those guys, and anytime you match up with another club for this many games, you're not necessarily going to have the best matchups. You're not even necessarily going to have the 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, etc. But we are going to see, some of the best from both of these squads. We know there's a few more guys on the IL right now that can only make this series even better. But the pitching matchups with the rotations, not just in the series, but going forward between the Orioles and Yankees, who are you feeling that you like a little bit more right now?
Well, I got to say this, as much as this is a great matchup between these two teams, I'm looking at the pitching probables, and there is not a sexy pitching matchup that I can sink my teeth into. You got Clark Schmidt versus Grayson Rodriguez, Nestor Cortez versus Dean Kramer, Luis Gil versus Corbin Burns, and then Carlos Rodon against TBD right now. So we'll see maybe they sneak somebody in there that makes that matchup look better. But just looking at what we've seen this year, the Yankees have kind of had the better rotation, and that surprises me. They've gotten a lot more than I would have expected out of Rodon. Stroman has been great. I guess I would have bet that Stroman would have been better than Rodon, but just to see the fact that they've gone without Cole and have put together a good rotation, it's been surprising to me. I don't know how much longer they can get this from Rodon. Is he just fully back? If he is, I think that changes the equation. But so far, the Yankees have been better over the course of the year. I think I would like the Orioles rotation more, but it's pretty close. And obviously, Cole is the big question there. If they get Cole back, that changes the math for us.
It is, and if the Orioles are going to be able to get back Kyle Bradish, which he's a potential guy that could start that game on Thursday. Bradish still can't really hold the cleats of Garrett Cole, but even still, that does give you out a little bit more depth because you need that entire 40-man roster and then some. And so you've got to be able to have that depth, and I think that's one of the other areas where, as I said with the lineup, where I think the Orioles have a little bit of that advantage right now as being able to go a little bit deeper down to Norfolk to tap into some guys in the starting rotation. I think you're right. The Yankees have been better overall, and they haven't needed to rely on their ace and Garrett Cole, whereas the Orioles are doing it with their guy right now in Corbin Burns. But they've got some horses in the stable looking to get healthy and looking to get right as well.
And with Baltimore, you got Cade Povich, who's getting close. I know we had an article come up this week about the top AL prospects who are close to making their debut. And since that article was in the works, 2 of them came up. It was Heston Kjerstad, and I think Addison Barger that made debuts. And now a third one, the prospect from the Astros, Joey Lapafito, he's getting called up. So if you're in that article, it seems like the debut's coming. So Cade Povich might be next. And he's put up great numbers this year. That would take the Orioles rotation to another level. I think for me, as we weigh this out throughout the year, if Carlos Rodon is this, if Marcus Stroman stays healthy, and if Garrett Cole comes back, I think I would lean Yankees are better. But that's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts. And I think the Orioles have a lot more answers to get through the full season.
Yeah, I like Clark Schmidt, I think he's kind of slept on.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many he fits that mold of a guy every few years with the Yankees. They're kind of overlooked in a lot of ways. I mean, you could say that about their closer Clay Holmes, which we'll talk about in a little bit when we get to closer conversation. But Clark Schmidt, I think, is really solid. And again, Stroman, Rodon, and then Nestor Cortez, right? Who, obviously took a step back after that big All-Star and breakout season in 2021. He's been really solid with a 3.5 ERA. So it's really close to call in general. I think the upside maybe for some of the Orioles guys, it seems like it could be higher, right? Because they're younger. So you go, man, is this a guy that could also finish fourth in the AL Cy Young Award race like a Kyle Bradish? Or will it just be a pretty good starter, with a sub 4 ERA, and you need those guys? Or are they going to be, the best of the best? Are they going to be able to ratchet it up like we know Carlos Rodon can, and Marcus Stroman can, and Nestor Cortez and Garrett Cole when he's healthy? So I think for that reason, it's not as sexy. Doesn't feel as good as when I picked the Orioles as the best lineup. I think I would lean towards the Yankees as having the better rotation.
Yeah, it's close. It's very close. I think on every facet, I think maybe the biggest discrepancy might be the bullpens, because the Yankees are they always have a good bullpen. Like every year, they're usually a winning team every year. They are a winning team every year, and they always have a good bullpen. I'm looking right now at the stats. Not even getting a ton of strikeouts, only 7.26 strikeouts per nine for their pen, but a 2.74 ERA. In Baltimore, got to scroll down a little bit. They're at 3.94. So you got the Yankees with the fourth best bullpen ERA in baseball, Orioles 16th best, and the Yankees have covered more innings as well. So they haven't got as much length from their starters. They've covered about 12 more innings. So I think that's a little more of a slam dunk conversation. What I'm not sure about is Felix Bautista eligible to come back this year, because that's going to help Baltimore a lot as you get to the playoffs. I know he got Tommy John late last year. Relievers, maybe the timetable is a little bit shorter. So I think that's something to monitor. But right now, when it comes to the bullpens, I think the Yankees have a clear edge.
Yeah, I think Batista didn't have his surgery basically until the offseason in October. So more likely than not, he might not be a factor. But you're right, he could return. Is he going to be the Felix Batista that, was in the All-Star game last year in Seattle? Like, maybe not. But you're right. You'd rather have that guy doing that coming off the IL with Tommy John. So we will wait and see what happens. But like you said, it's the Yankees bullpen has been definitely easily a tick above and better. And like you said, they've had to work a little bit harder than the Orioles bullpen, which leads you to believe that the starting rotation for Baltimore has been a little bit better. But the Yankees, it's going to be interesting to see how they deploy their bullpen, because right now they're in the midst of a 17-day stretch without a day off. Wow. They won't get their next one until May 6th, I believe. So, they got to be a little bit cautious there. You don't want to run those guys into the ground, this early in the year, but these are big games against the Orioles. So if you're going to do that now, it's going to be worth that much more than, against pretty much any other divisional opponent, let alone league opponent.
Well, when it comes to managing that bullpen, they have Michael Tonkin there. It's been passed around the league. And so if there's a mop-up duty opportunity, Tonkin can go out there, give them 45 pitches, and get DFA'd for like the 5th time this year. He's had a rough go of it. We'll see if he can stick with the Yankees. He's already had 2 tours of duty with the Mets in the first month of the season. So that's impressive to get passed around like that. This is his 4th team now, or I guess his 4th stint, two stints with the Mets. Looking at the complete picture, though, between these two teams, I think we were split on the lineup, the rotation. We kind of agree on the bullpen, but that's not going to factor as much as the other two components. So if you're picking right now, who's going to win the American League East? Is it the Orioles again, or is it the Yankees?
I'm picking the New York Yankees right now. Maybe it's the chalk. Maybe it has something to do with, again, these young guys not having done it yet in high leverage situations or high pressure kind of environments. They did it last year, obviously during the regular season, but I'm taking the Yankees. I know Back It Up Binge podcast in our chat here on YouTube, which again, we go live every Sunday evening and then midweek. So feel free to jump in when we're live. You can also leave comments as well. We'll take a look at those all throughout during the week and during any of these conversations. But yeah, I'm taking the Yankees right now. Again, it doesn't feel great because the sexy pick is definitely the Orioles. We know how fun and exciting that is. And now Jackson Holiday, when he comes up, you go, oh, he's got something to prove. let's see what this kid's got. If he's got that moxie, it wasn't, he wasn't born with that golden spoon in the same way where he's had the golden spoon at every level. That's a big hiccup, getting sent back down after struggling in the way that he did. We know that there are plenty of other all-time greats who've had that same kind of start and were able to rebound back. So I think a lot of people are hoping for that. But until that happens, I'm going to lean towards the New York Yankees right now. They split the series. Do they win it? And is this series the be all end all to actually tell us who is the better team right now? I think in this series this week, it does actually tell us a lot about who is better. Are you joining me? Are you taking the Yankees? What do you think is going to happen in the series this week? Is somebody going to go 3 out of 4, or is it going to be a split? What'd you take, Ryan?
I don't know. I don't know how this series is going to go. It's tough to predict. I could see this being a series where the Orioles at home take the series and then, what that, even up the division or at least make it closer. I'm always horrible at that math. If you take 3 or 4, you're down a game. Yeah, you go up, right? Regardless, it's tough for me to pick who's better right now and then who's going to be better, because the Yankees are a team that you would think would aggressively add at the deadline with the 1 year of Juan Soto. But how much money do they have to add onto the books? And then also you look at the Orioles and you think new ownership syndrome, right? Like, this would be the first deadline where they can make some moves. Are they going to trade from their prospect? So because of what I actually think could be a more aggressive team at the deadline, because of the upside of some of the prospects that are coming, K. Povich, like I mentioned, I think in the long run, the Orioles will be the better team this year. I think at this present moment right now, the Yankees are currently better. But if I had to pick one for the whole season, I'm picking Baltimore.
I think the silver lining, should the Orioles lose this series, is that you're right. New ownership is going to say, we need to do more to contend with this team. Maybe we don't have it. We're close, but we need more. It's almost, if you win the series, ownership goes, we're good. I like where we're at. Of course, they're still going to add. They're still going to improve, but maybe it puts an unintended but positive chip on your shoulder if you do lose the series. But yeah, if Baltimore wins the series, they'll actually go a full game ahead of the Yankees. So that's their only way. Split, they just stay exactly where they're at. They lose the series. Now the Yankees are getting away from them just a little bit.